I was born under a blood-red moon, and that was my first crime. The eclipse turned the sky dark as ink, and when I emerged into the world, the palace astrologer declared me cursed. My twin sister followed moments later, but she never drew breath. The midwife whispered prayers while my mother wept, holding one dead child and one damned. My father, Lord Wen, stood at the doorway with a face like stone. He was a concubine's son himself, clawed his way to nobility through cunning and ruthless ambition. One dead daughter and one cursed son would destroy everything he'd built. "The boy dies tonight," he said coldly. "We'll say both children survived, but the son was too weak." My mother clutched me tighter. "Please, he's innocent." "Innocent or not, he's a bad omen. The court will use him to destroy our family." My father turned to leave, then paused. "Unless..." The silence stretched like a blade. "Unless he becomes the girl," my father finished. "Raise him as Lady Wen Lion, no one will know. The daughter lives, the cursed son never existed." My mother looked down at me, tears falling on my face. "You will live, my son," she whispered, "but not as yourself." That night they wrapped me in pink silk and wrote my sister's name in the family registry. When Liwei ceased to exist, Lady Wen Lion was born. My earliest memories were lessons in erasure. Stand straighter but softer, graceful not strong. Lower your eyes, a lady never challenges with her gaze. Speak quietly, your voice must never carry authority. My nursemaid, Old May, taught me to walk with small steps, to sit with perfect posture, to hide any hint of the boy I was born as. When I was 5, I asked why I couldn't play with wooden swords like the other boys. "Because you're not a boy," she said firmly. "You're Lady Lion, remember that, or you'll kill everyone who loves you." I learned quickly, learned to curtsy instead of bow, learned to embroider instead of practice calligraphy with bold strokes, learned to cry silently when frustration burned in my chest. But at night, alone in my chambers, I would stand before the mirror and try to see the boy underneath. I couldn't. The reflection showed only Lady Lion, delicate, proper, empty. Once when I was 7, I stole scissors and cut my hair short, just to feel it, just to see myself as I truly was. My father found me. He didn't beat me. He just stared with cold disappointment and said, "Better a living daughter than a dead son, remember your choice." But I'd never had a choice, that was the cruelest truth. I cried as the servants pinned false hairpieces over my shorn head, and I never touched scissors again. I was 16 when the imperial summons arrived. The emperor was selecting companions for Crown Prince Rui Shen, noble daughters from prestigious families who would spend a year at court before His Highness chose a bride. It was the highest honor a family could receive. My father read the scroll with barely contained triumph. "Lady Wen Lion," he announced to the assembled household, "you have been chosen to attend the crown prince." My mother's hand found mine under the table, squeezing tight. She alone knew what this meant, a year of performances, of never slipping, of maintaining a lie under the scrutiny of the entire court. "This is our family's greatest achievement," my father continued, his eyes boring into mine. "Do not disgrace us." That night my mother helped me pack. Her hands trembled as she folded silk robes. "You've done so well," she whispered. 10 years without a single mistake, you've become her so completely." "Because I had to," I said quietly, "because the alternative was death." "I know, and I'm sorry." She pulled me into an embrace. "But you must be even more careful now. The palace sees everything. One wrong move, one moment of carelessness." "I know," I pulled back, forcing a smile. "I've been Lady Lion for 10 years, I can be her for one more." But as the carriage carried me toward the capital 3 days later, I stared at my reflection in the polished window and wondered, after 10 years of pretending, was there any leeway left to save? The spring banquet was a test of beauty and grace, where Crown Prince Rui Shen would meet the selected daughters for the first time. I knelt among 30 other young women, all of us arranged like flowers for his inspection. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I kept my face serene, eyes lowered as I'd been taught. Crown Prince Rui Shen entered, and the room fell into absolute silence. He was taller than I'd expected, with sharp features and eyes that missed nothing. He moved through the room slowly, speaking briefly with each woman. Some trembled, some giggled nervously, all performed their rehearsed charm. When he reached me, I felt his shadow fall across my bowed head. "Lady Wen Lion," he said. His voice was deeper than I'd imagined, controlled but not cold. "Your Highness," I bowed lower. "Look at me." I raised my eyes carefully, meeting his gaze for precisely the appropriate amount of time, long enough to show respect, short enough to show deference. His eyes narrowed slightly. "You do not tremble like the others." "Should I, Your Highness?" "Most do. They see the future emperor and forget to breathe." "I see a man doing his duty," I said quietly, "just as I am doing mine." Something shifted in his expression, surprise perhaps, or interest. "Interesting." He moved on, but I felt his attention linger. That night the list was posted. 10 names would remain, mine was third. My mother's training had worked. Lady Lion had charmed the crown prince. But as I lay in my new palace chambers, I wondered what he'd actually seen when he looked at me. A suitable bride, or something else, something truer than the lie I wore. The announcement came 2 weeks later. Of the 10 remaining candidates, Crown Prince Rui Shen had chosen his companion for the year, Lady Wen Lion. The other women wept with disappointment. I bowed with perfect grace, accepting the honor that felt like a sentencing. "You should be celebrating," my attending maid said as she prepared my chambers that evening. "Every woman in the kingdom would trade places with you." "I am honored," I replied automatically. But alone that night, I stared at the moon through my window and felt the weight of another year settling on my shoulders. Another year of performance, another year of hiding. My father's letter arrived the next morning, delivered by private courier. "The family's future rests on your shoulders. The crown prince must never suspect. Any scandal will destroy us all. Remember, better a living daughter than a dead son." I burned the letter and watched the paper turn to ash. Crown Prince Rui Shen sent for me that afternoon. I found him in the palace gardens, standing beside a pond filled with golden koi. "Walk with me," he said. We walked in silence for a while, the spring breeze carrying the scent of plum blossoms. Finally, he spoke. "Do you know why I chose you, Lady Lion?" "I do not presume to know your Highness's mind." "The others performed for me, showed me what they thought I wanted to see." He stopped, turning to face me. "But you were simply yourself, calm, unafraid, real." Real, the word cut like a blade. "I am honored by your faith in me, Your Highness." "Rui Shen," he said, "when we're alone you may call me Rui Shen." It felt like intimacy I hadn't earned. "As you wish." He smiled then, small but genuine. "This year will be easier than you fear, Lady Lion. I'm not the tyrant the court gossips about." But I wasn't afraid of his tyranny. I was afraid he might actually see me. Crown Prince Rui Shen tested me constantly, though I don't think he realized it. He invited me to watch him practice calligraphy. "Do you write?" he asked. "Only as much as is appropriate for a lady," I replied carefully. In truth, my father had taught me before the deception began. I could write with bold, confident strokes, but that would expose me. "Show me." He slid paper and brush across the table. I wrote with the delicate, hesitant hand I'd perfected, feminine, uncertain, safe. Rui Shen studied my work. "You have better control than you show." My heart skipped. "I'm flattered, Your Highness." "Rui Shen. Rui Shen." He smiled. "You guard yourself carefully, Lady Lion. What are you afraid of?" "Nothing, Your High Rui Shen. I simply know my place." "And what place is that?" "Wherever you require me to be." He was quiet for a moment, then laughed softly. "Diplomatic, my father chose well." Another test came during a ride through the palace grounds. "Do you ride?" he asked. "Only in carriages," I lied. I'd learned to ride as a child before everything changed. "I'll teach you then." He helped me onto a gentle mare, his hands steadying my waist. The horse responded to my subtle cues. I couldn't help it, muscle memory taking over. We moved smoothly, naturally. "You're a natural," Rui Shen said, surprised. "As if you've done this before." "Beginner's luck," I said quickly, deliberately making the horse stumble. That night I lay awake, terrified. How many more mistakes would I make? How long before he saw through the performance? But when I saw him the next day, he simply smiled and said, "You surprise me, Lady Lion, and I'm not easily surprised." I didn't know if that was a compliment or a warning. The lantern festival arrived, painting the palace in warm golden light. Hundreds of lanterns floated on the lake and hung from trees, turning night into a dream. Rui Shen found me standing alone by the water, watching reflections dance. Hiding from the celebration, he asked. Observing it, I replied. Sometimes watching is more honest than participating. He stood beside me close enough that I could feel his warmth. Everyone lies in this palace, he said quietly. Every smile is calculated, every word is a strategy. The admission surprised me, even yours. Especially mine. I'm the crown prince. Truth is a luxury I can't afford. He turned to me. But I think you understand that, don't you? You carry your own secrets. My breath caught. Did he know? Had he seen through everything? Some lies are born to survive, I said carefully. And some truths are too dangerous to speak. His voice was soft, almost intimate. I wonder which you're carrying, Lady Lion. We stood in silence, watching lanterns drift across the water like captured stars. The moment felt suspended, dangerous, and beautiful. I should return to my chambers, I said finally. Stay, his hand brushed mine, barely touching, just a little longer. I stayed, and in that moment, surrounded by light and lies, I felt something shift between us, something that had nothing to do with duty or performance. Something terrifyingly real. When I finally left, Rui Shen caught my hand. Thank you, he said, for being here, for being honest in your dishonesty. I walked back to my chambers with his words echoing in my mind, and for the first time in 10 years I wondered, what if he could love the truth of me? What if I didn't have to hide forever? But I knew better. Some truths destroy everything they touch, and mine would destroy us both. The emperor summoned me 3 months into my companionship with Rui Shen. I knelt before the dragon throne, heart hammering, certain this was the end, that somehow he'd discovered everything. Lady Wen Lion, the emperor said, you have brought honor to your family and grace to this court. More importantly, you have given my son something he's never had, peace. I raised my eyes carefully. Your Majesty honors me. The crown prince speaks highly of you, says you are thoughtful, genuine, unafraid to challenge him respectfully. The emperor smiled. These are qualities of a good empress. The word hit me like a blow, empress. Therefore, I decree that after your year of companionship concludes, you shall marry Crown Prince Rui Shen and become Crown Princess. The wedding will take place on the anniversary of your selection. The court erupted in celebration. I bowed lower to hide my face, to hide the panic screaming through every nerve. You honor me beyond measure, Your Majesty. But inside, I was drowning. A year of pretending was survivable, a lifetime was impossible. Marriage meant intimacy I couldn't fake, discovery was inevitable. Rui Shen found me in the gardens that evening. You've been avoiding me. I needed air. Lion, he used my name gently. I know this is overwhelming. My father should have consulted us before the announcement. Does it matter? We have no choice. Don't we? He took my hand. I could refuse, tell him I need more time. And shame both our families, disgrace the emperor. I shook my head. No, we do our duty. Is that all this is to you, duty? I looked at him, really looked at him. At the man I'd spent 3 months learning to care for despite every warning screaming at me not to. No, I whispered, it's not just duty, not anymore. His expression softened. Then we face this together as partners. He kissed my hand and I felt my heart break and soar simultaneously, because I was falling in love with him, and that made everything so much worse. The wedding preparation consumed the next months, silk robes in crimson and gold, a ceremony rehearsed 100 times, blessings from priests and poets. Through it all, I made a promise to myself. I would be Lady Lion until death if I must. Rui Shen would never know. Our marriage would survive on the foundation of this lie. My mother visited the night before the wedding. She found me alone, staring at my reflection in bridal red. You look beautiful, she said, tears in her eyes. I look like her, like the daughter who died. No, she turned me to face her. You look like yourself, you've become Lady Lion so completely, there's no difference anymore. Then Liwei is truly dead. Liwei is surviving, that's what matters, she cupped my face. Tomorrow you'll marry the crown prince, you'll be safe, protected, the lie will become truth. Until he discovers it, until I make a mistake. You won't, you're stronger than you know, she kissed my forehead. Now rest, tomorrow you become crown princess. But I couldn't rest. I lay awake, watching moonlight paint shadows across my chambers and whispered a prayer to the brother I used to be. Forgive me, I'm burying you to survive. The morning came too quickly. They dressed me in layers of silk, painted my face, crowned me with gold and jade. In the mirror I saw a stranger, beautiful, perfect, completely false. Ready? My attending maid asked. No, never, but I nodded anyway. The ceremony was magnificent, drums and bells, incense and flowers, hundreds of witnesses. I walked down the long aisle toward Rui Shen, each step feeling like walking toward my own execution. But when I reached him, when I saw his face, something in me settled. He smiled, genuine and warm, and whispered, "You may breathe now, my wife." My wife, the words should have felt like chains, instead they felt like safety. Our wedding night terrified me more than anything before. Rui Shen dismissed the servants and closed the door, leaving us alone in chambers lit by candles and expectation. My heart hammered so violently I was certain he could hear it. You're trembling, he said gently. I'm nervous. So am I. He removed his outer robe and I fought the urge to step back. But there's no rush, we have a lifetime. He approached slowly, giving me time to breathe. His hand cupped my face, thumb brushing my cheek. You're beautiful, Lion, I'm honored to call you my wife. He kissed me then, soft, questioning, nothing like I'd feared. When he pulled back, his eyes searched mine. Are you all right? Yes, the lie came easily now. Then let's rest, we're both exhausted. Relief flooded through me. You're not, we're not. Not tonight. When we come together, I want you to want it, not just endure it because it's expected. He took my hand, leading me to the bed. Sleep beside me, that's enough for now. We lay down together, still fully clothed, and Rui Shen pulled the covers over us. Good night, my wife. Good night, I whispered. I lay awake long after his breathing deepened, marveling at the strange intimacy of simply lying beside him. He'd given me a gift, time, patience, choice. And in that moment, I hated myself for deceiving someone so fundamentally good. Married life surprised me with its gentleness. Rui Shen and I fell into a rhythm, morning tea together, afternoons spent in companionable silence while he worked and I embroidered, evenings playing chess or reading poetry aloud. He never pressed me for more than I could give, never questioned my modesty or reluctance. You're different from what I expected, he said one evening, studying the chess board between us. How so? Stronger, smarter, you hide it well, but I see it. He moved his piece. You could beat me at this game if you wanted to. My hand froze over my own piece. I'm not that skilled. You are, but you pretend not to be. Why? Because it's not appropriate for a woman to be intelligent. That's ridiculous. He looked at me intently. I married you for your mind as much as anything else, Lion. Don't hide it from me. So I stopped holding back, at least a little. I beat him at chess the next game. He laughed, delighted rather than offended. There she is, he said, my real wife. If only he knew how far from real I truly was. Months passed. We grew closer, sharing jokes, finishing each other's thoughts, falling asleep side by side after quiet conversations in the dark. He still hadn't pressed for consummation, and I was grateful beyond words. I love you, he said one night, so quietly I almost missed it. My heart stopped. What? I love you, Lion. I think I have for a while now. He propped himself on one elbow, looking down at me. If I could choose again, I would still choose you, every time. Tears burned my eyes. I love you too. It was the truest thing I'd ever said, and the most dangerous. The accident happened during a garden party. I was reaching for tea when my sleeve caught on the table edge, pulling a hot pot sideways. Boiling water splashed across my arm and I gasped, jerking back. Lion, Rui Shen was beside me instantly, pulling me away from the table. Servants rushed forward with cloths and medicine. My robe sleeve was soaked, clinging to my burned skin. One servant reached to pull it back. No, I yanked my arm away, but too late. The fabric had torn, and beneath it, everyone could see the bindings wrapped tight around my chest, visible through my thin inner robe. Time stopped. Rui Shen stared at the torn fabric, at the binding that no woman would wear. His face went carefully blank. "Everyone out," he said quietly. The servants fled. We stood alone in the garden, the sun too bright, the air too still. "Ruishen," I started. "Don't," his voice was flat, "just don't speak." He turned and walked away, leaving me standing there with my secret exposed and my world crumbling around me. That night he didn't come to our chambers, or the next night, or the night after that. Rui Shen began watching me differently, not with love but with cold assessment. He tested me constantly, asked questions I couldn't answer, studied every movement I made. "Tell me about your childhood," he said during dinner one evening, his voice neutral but his eyes sharp. It was ordinary, quiet. "Did you have brothers?" "No," the lie tasted like poison. "Sisters?" "I was alone." "How convenient." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Tell me, Lion, what do you remember about your naming ceremony? The traditions for noble daughters are very specific." I recited the rehearsed story I'd memorized years ago. He listened without expression. "Interesting," he said when I finished. "That ceremony was changed 5 years before you were born. Your family would have followed the new tradition." Ice flooded my veins. I'd been caught in a lie I didn't even know I was telling. I must have misremembered. "Or you're remembering something that wasn't yours to remember." He stood. "Finish your meal, I have work to attend to." He left me alone at the table and I knew he'd figured it out, maybe not all of it but enough. Enough to know I wasn't what I claimed to be. That night I barely slept. Morning came like a sentencing. Late that night, Rui Shen entered our chambers unexpectedly. I was changing behind the screen, had just removed my outer robe and was loosening my bindings after a day of painful compression. "Lion, we need to." He walked around the screen before I could stop him. We froze, him starring, me half-dressed, bindings visible, nowhere to hide. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then Rui Shen's face transformed, shock giving way to disbelief, disbelief to fury. "Who are you?" His voice was barely a whisper. I dropped to my knees, trembling. "Please let me explain." "Who are you?" Louder now, shaking with rage. "My name is Wen Liwei. My twin sister died at birth. My father made me take her place to protect our family honor. I've been living as Lady Lion for 10 years. I never wanted to deceive you. I had no choice." "No choice," he laughed, sharp and bitter. "You married me, you let me fall in love with a lie. The feelings were real, everything I felt for you was real." "How can anything be real when you're not even who you claim to be?" His hands clenched into fists. "I confided in you, loved you, trusted you, and you're not even a woman, you're—" He couldn't finish, couldn't even say it. "I'm sorry," I sobbed. "I'm so sorry." "Get out," his voice went cold. "Get out of my sight." I fled to the adjoining chamber and collapsed, hearing him destroy our room, furniture crashing, pottery shattering, his roar of rage and betrayal echoing through the palace. By morning the rumors would spread, by evening everyone would know. But when dawn came, Rui Shen called his servants and told them he'd knocked over furniture while sleepless, nothing more. He was keeping my secret, but not out of love, out of something much more dangerous. The morning after the revelation, everything changed. Rui Shen sat at breakfast, eating alone. When I entered, he didn't look up, didn't acknowledge me. "Rui Shen," I said quietly. "Crown Prince," he corrected, voice ice. "You'll address me properly in public and private." I sat across from him. He continued eating as if I didn't exist. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now?" He finally looked at me and his eyes held nothing, no love, no hate, just cold indifference. "Now you continue being Lady Lion, you'll perform your duties as Crown Princess, you'll appear at my side during public functions, and you'll never ever mention what you told me last night. You're not exposing me. Exposing you would expose myself as a fool who couldn't tell he married a man, it would shame the royal family, destroy your family, create political chaos." He set down his chopsticks. "So no, I'm not exposing you, I'm containing you." "Containing me? You wanted to live as a woman? Then you'll live as the perfect woman. Quiet, obedient, decorative, you'll embroider, you'll smile, you'll bow, and you'll never forget what you really are." He stood, looking down at me with something I'd never seen before, contempt. "Welcome to your cage, Lady Lion, you built it yourself." He left me sitting alone, and for the first time since my twin died, I wished I'd died with her. Rui Shen's punishment was subtle but relentless. He didn't hurt me physically. He didn't shout or rage. Instead, he systematically stripped away every bit of comfort I'd found in our marriage. He assigned me tedious duties, hours of embroidery, formal court appearances where I stood silent and decorative, endless tea ceremonies where I served visiting nobles while he ignored me completely. "The stitching is uneven," he said one day, examining my work. "A proper lady would take more care." "I'll redo it." "Yes, you will. You wanted to be a lady, then act like one." Every mistake brought cold criticism. Every attempt to speak was shut down with sharp words. In public, he was perfectly polite, the devoted husband. In private, he was ice. The servants began to notice. "The crown prince and crown princess seem distant," I overheard one whisper. "Marriage troubles," another replied. "Even royals have them." But it wasn't trouble, it was systematic emotional destruction, and Rui Shen was very good at it. One evening I dared to ask, "How long will you punish me?" He looked up from his work. "Is that what you think this is, punishment?" "Isn't it?" "No, lion, this is consequence. You lied for 10 years, you deceived me, married me under false pretenses, let me fall in love with someone who doesn't exist." He went back to his writing. "This is just you living with what you created. I never meant to hurt you. And yet here we are." That night I cried myself to sleep in our bed while he slept in his study. The distance between us felt wider than oceans. The palace servants grew bold with gossip. They whispered just loud enough for me to hear, comments about my unworthiness, speculation about why the crown prince had grown cold. "Perhaps she's barren. Perhaps she's not as virtuous as she appears. Perhaps the crown prince regrets his choice." I endured it silently, head bowed, playing the role of shamed wife perfectly. Rui Shen overheard one particularly cruel conversation, a senior maid suggesting I should be set aside for a better match. I waited for him to defend me. Instead, he said nothing, just walked past as if I weren't there at all. That night I confronted him. "You heard what they said." "I did." "You said nothing." "What would you have me say? That you're perfect? We both know you're not." He looked at me with those cold eyes. "You made yourself vulnerable through deception. I won't lie to protect you from consequences. So you'll let them humiliate me." "You humiliated yourself. I'm just refusing to clean up your mess." His cruelty was calculated, precise. He knew exactly how to hurt me most, not through violence but through withdrawal of everything I'd come to need. The emperor noticed eventually. He summoned Rui Shen privately. I learned about it from a servant who'd overheard. "Your Majesty asked why you've grown cold toward your wife," she reported nervously. "And what did the crown prince say?" "That it was a private matter, that the emperor need not concern himself." The emperor had backed off, but I knew it wouldn't last. Eventually, someone would investigate. Eventually, the truth would spread beyond Rui Shen's control. And then everything would end. The fever came suddenly, exhaustion and stress finally breaking my body. I collapsed during a court function, crumpling to the floor in front of dozens of witnesses. When I woke, I was in bed, physician hovering, servants whispering. "The crown princess is ill," the physician announced. "She needs rest, absolute rest." They left me alone. Days passed in fevered haze, nightmares of discovery, of execution, of watching Rui Shen turn away while I burned for my deception. I woke one night to find him sitting beside my bed, face shadowed in candlelight. "You're here," I whispered hoarsely. "The servants would find it strange if I weren't." "Is that the only reason?" He was quiet for a long moment. "Get well, lion, I need you functional for court appearances." But his hand adjusted my blankets with a gentleness that contradicted his words. And when he thought I'd fallen back asleep, I heard him murmur, "Why did you have to lie? Why couldn't you just trust me?" In my fever, I whispered, "I never lied about loving you." He went still, then he stood and left without another word. The next morning, the physician noticed something unusual during his examination. He paused over my pulse, frowned, checked again. "This is irregular," he said slowly. "Crown princess, I'll need to perform a more thorough." The door burst open. Rui Shen entered, face stern. "That won't be necessary. My wife requires rest, not invasive examinations." But your highness, I must. She is my wife, I'll determine what she needs. His voice turned dangerous. Are we clear? The physician bowed and fled. Rui Shen closed the door and stood there, back to me. You protected me, I said quietly. I protected myself, your exposure is my humiliation. But I heard the lie in his words. He'd protected me. Even now, even hatting me, he couldn't let anyone else hurt me. I recovered slowly. Rui Shen maintained his cold distance, but something had shifted after that night. He still didn't speak to me warmly, still assigned me tedious tasks, still withheld affection. But he watched me now, and sometimes when he thought I wasn't looking, his expression held something other than contempt. One evening, I couldn't bear the silence anymore. I faced him in our chambers, heart pounding. If you wish me gone, say it. Divorce me, expose me, end this. He looked up from his work. Is that what you want? I want to stop living in this limbo. I want to know if you hate me or if there's any chance. Any chance of what? Forgiveness? Love? He stood, moving toward me. You ruined my peace, Lion. You made me question everything I thought I knew, made me feel like a fool. I know, I'm sorry. He grabbed my wrist, not hard but desperate. You don't get to leave, you don't get to escape this easily. You wanted to be Lady Lion, then you'll be her. Forever, living with what you did, living with me. Why keep me here if you hate me? His grip tightened and I saw the truth in his eyes before he said it. Because I can't let you go, even hatting you, even knowing what you are, I can't. He released me abruptly and turned away. Get out of my sight. I fled, but I'd seen it, the crack in his armor. I was walking through the palace gardens when I heard raised voices, Rui Shen and several ministers, speaking where they thought no one could hear. The crown princess is unsuitable, one minister said boldly. She produces no heirs, shows no strength. Perhaps it's time to consider a secondary wife. Be very careful how you finish that sentence. Rui Shen's voice was deadly quiet. Your Highness, we only suggest. You suggest nothing. Lady Lion is my wife, my choice, and anyone who speaks against her answers to me directly. The minister paled. Of course, Your Highness, I meant no disrespect. Then show respect to her and to my decisions. Now leave before I forget my patience. They scattered. Rui Shen stood alone, jaw tight, hands clenched. I stepped into view. You defended me. He didn't turn. Don't read too much into it. They insulted me. You silenced them. I silenced fools who overstepped their position. You're absolutely right. I apologize. Story from where I left off. Days later, I witnessed something that changed everything. I was walking through the palace gardens when I heard raised voices, Rui Shen and several ministers, speaking where they thought no one could hear. The crown princess is unsuitable, one minister said boldly. She produces no heirs, shows no strength. Perhaps it's time to consider a secondary wife. Be very careful how you finish that sentence. Rui Shen's voice was deadly quiet. Your Highness, we only suggest. You suggest nothing. Lady Lion is my wife, my choice, and anyone who speaks against her answers to me directly. The minister paled. Of course, Your Highness, I meant no disrespect. Then show respect to her and to my decisions. Now leave before I forget my patience. They scattered. Rui Shen stood alone, jaw tight, hands clenched. I stepped into view. You defended me. He didn't turn. Don't read too much into it. They insulted me. You silenced them. I silenced fools who overstepped their position, but his voice lacked conviction. You still care. The words escaped before I could stop them. He finally turned and his eyes held something raw. Of course I still care, that's what makes this so unbearable. I hate what you did, but I can't stop, he broke off, jaw clenching. Go back to your chambers. But I'd heard enough. He still loved me. Even through the anger and betrayal, he still loved me. That night I found Rui Shen standing in the rain outside our chambers. He was soaked, staring at nothing, looking more lost than I'd ever seen him. You'll catch cold, I said softly, approaching with an umbrella. Go inside. Not without you. Lion. My name is Liwei, I stepped closer. You've known for months. Stop calling me by a name that was never mine. He turned to face me, rain streaming down his face like tears. If I call you Liwei, then I have to accept that everything was a lie, that the person I fell in love with never existed. But I did exist, I do exist. I took his hand. The feelings were real, the person you fell in love with, that was me, just me, not Lady Lion me. You were pretending. I stopped pretending the day I fell in love with you, my voice broke. Everything since then has been real, my love for you, my devotion, my pain at losing you, all real. The rain poured harder. Rui Shen's composure finally crumbled completely. I've been so angry, so hurt, but every day without you felt like dying. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I kept replaying every moment we shared, wondering what was true and what was performance. All of it was true, from the first time you made me laugh, the first time you held my hand, the first time you said you loved me. I moved closer. I'm still that person, Rui Shen, I'm still me. He pulled me into his arms suddenly, fiercely, burying his face in my hair. I hate you for lying, I hate you for making me doubt everything, but I hate myself more for not being able to stop loving you. I held him tightly, both of us soaking in the rain. Then don't stop, please don't stop. We stood in the rain until we both shivered from cold. Rui Shen finally pulled back, cupping my face in his hands. We can't go back to how things were, he said quietly. I know. The trust is broken, it'll take time to rebuild. I'll wait however long it takes. He studied my face for a long moment. You really were born male. Yes. And your sister really died. Yes, I took her place to save my family, I never asked for this life. But you chose to deceive me. I chose to survive, and then I chose to love you. I met his eyes steadily. I can't change my past, but I can promise you my future, all of it, honestly this time. Rui Shen was quiet. Then, I need you to tell me everything, no more secrets, no more lies, everything. So I did. That night after we changed into dry clothes, I told him everything, my childhood, the constant fear, the training to be someone I wasn't. I showed him the scars from binding my chest too tightly, told him about the nights I cried myself to sleep feeling like I was losing myself. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he took my hand. I'm sorry, he said simply. For what? For what was done to you, for the choice you never had, for punishing you when you were already punishing yourself. He squeezed my hand. You're not Lady Lion, you're not just Liwei either, you're both, you're whoever you need to be to survive, and I love all of it. Tears streamed down my face. Really? Really? He pulled me close. It'll take time, but I want to try again, properly this time, knowing the truth. The reconciliation wasn't immediate or perfect. Rui Shen moved my belongings back to our shared chambers, but we slept in separate beds at first. He was gentle but distant, still working through his hurt. But slowly, carefully, we rebuilt. He asked questions, I answered honestly. He shared his own fears, that he'd been a fool, that he'd failed to see what was in front of him. I assured him I'd been too good at hiding. Your father was cruel, he said one evening, making a child live a lie to survive. He was desperate, I understand that now, even if I can't forgive it. Do you ever wish you could have lived as yourself? Every day, I looked at him, but if I had, I never would have met you, so I don't know anymore what I wish for. He took my hand then, the first voluntary touch in weeks. I wish I could have met the real you from the start, saved us both this pain. We can't change the past, only move forward. Then, let's move forward. He pulled me closer, and for the first time since the revelation, he kissed me, not with passion but with tenderness, with promise. I love you, he whispered. Whoever you are, whatever you are, I love you. I love you too. That night we fell asleep in the same bed, his arm around me, my head on his chest. It felt like coming home after a long, painful journey. Weeks turned to months. The emperor never learned the truth. Rui Shen ensured that, to the court, we were simply a couple who'd weathered marital difficulties and emerged stronger. But in private, everything had changed. Rui Shen no longer required me to perform femininity constantly. I could drop the act when we were alone, could speak in my natural voice, move without constant constraint. You bind your chest still, he observed one morning. I have to, for public appearances. It hurts you. I'm used to it. He frowned. I hate that you're used to pain. He helped me wrap the bindings more carefully. When we're alone, you don't have to. It was a small mercy, but it meant everything. Life continued. We attended court functions together. I played Lady Lion perfectly in public, but at night I was simply Liwei, Rui Shen's partner, his equal, his love. Do you regret it? I asked one night. Keeping my secret, you could have exposed me, started fresh with someone else. I could never regret you, he pulled me closer. You taught me that love isn't about perfection or truth, it's about choosing someone despite everything, because of everything. Even when they lie. Even then, because some lies are born from survival, not malice, he kissed my forehead, and because the person you became while lying was someone worth loving. Years passed, the emperor eventually passed and Rui Shen became emperor. I became his empress, still Lady Lion to the world but Liwei in private in the places that mattered. We never had children, the court whispered, but Rui Shen silenced them with a look. My wife is enough, he'd say, and that would be the end of it. One evening we stood on the palace balcony, watching the sun set over the kingdom we now ruled together. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I'd never found out? Rui Shen asked. Every day, maybe we'd have been happier, maybe the lie would have been kinder. No, he turned to me. The truth set us free, even when it hurt, even when it nearly destroyed us, because now I know all of you and I still choose you. Will you ever completely forgive me? He was quiet for a moment, then he smiled, sad but genuine. I already did, the day I couldn't let you go, the day I realized losing you would hurt more than any betrayal. I took his hand, lacing our fingers together. I would live 1,000 lies if it meant finding you at the end of them. You don't have to anymore, he pulled me into his arms. You can just be with me as you are. We stood there as the sun painted the sky in gold and crimson, two people who'd survived deception, betrayal, and heartbreak to find something real. I was born under a blood-red moon, cursed and unwanted. I lived 10 years as someone I wasn't. I deceived the man I loved and nearly lost everything. But standing there in Rui Shen's arms, I realized, sometimes the greatest truth comes from surviving the biggest lie. Sometimes love means being seen completely, all your scars, all your secrets, all your impossible contradictions, and being chosen anyway. I love you, Liwei, Rui Shen whispered. And for the first time in my life, I heard my real name spoken with love. I love you too, I whispered back. Under her name we lived, under our truth we loved, and that was enough.